Hey, I'm Paul Leslie. I had the privilege of graduating from Point University in 1987 with a biblical studies degree. I've had an incredible opportunity to serve the Lord, and Point University truly prepared me for my ministry. In 1986, as the school year was beginning, Dr. Donovan, who was then the president of Point University, came to me and asked me what my plans were, and I told him I'd like to work in student ministry. The next day, I was contacted by former President Paul Carrier. Following an almost 7-year ministry with Paul Carrier in Fayette County, I was called to become the senior minister at McDonough Christian Church. And so for a little over 23 years now, we've had the privilege of serving in Henry County and watching God do some pretty spectacular things. While at Point University, I had people like Mike Bain that really blessed me. He was not only our librarian, but he taught me 1st and 2nd Corinthians. And I have some great stories of how he was just a real encouragement inside and outside the classroom. One of my greatest memories at Point, I was in an 8 o'clock class with Mike Bain, 1 Corinthians I believe it was, and I realized that I had overcut his class. After class I went up to Professor Bain and I said, "Sir, I have overcut your class." And Mike paused just for a moment and stepped back and said, "Mr. Leslie, would it be advantageous for me to report this to the academic dean's office?" And I quickly said, "No, sir." I've always loved Mike Bain for not turning me into the academic dean's office for overcutting his class. I think it was around 2000, Dr. Groover came to me and said, "Paul, would you be willing to serve as a trustee?" And so I began serving as a trustee at Point University. And God has given me the opportunity, and others who have served on that board, to see some pretty spectacular changes. A rebranding of the university from Atlanta Christian College to Point University without losing our identity. A relocation from Atlanta to West Point, a football team, and many other incredible things have happened along the journey. There have been times where we wondered what was going to happen, but God always shows up, and He's always right on time. You know, in life, things are always changing, and Point has seen a lot of changes, but there's been a lot of things that have stayed consistent, and that is our desire to keep the gospel at the forefront in every classroom, to kind of have a biblical worldview no matter what class you're taking. Every professor understands the importance of sending out men and women, whether they're teachers or lawyers, doctors or pilots, and hopefully some preachers, that the gospel has to remain steadfast, never changing. And that's what's been consistent at Point University that I've always respected. Everybody understands that we're living in some interesting times. Everything seems to be changing. The one thing I love about Point University is the message has never changed. The methods, just like in church, we have to change to stay relevant. But Point University is true to its roots. Point University is still sending out godly men and women in the mission field and to serve churches, not only in America, but all over the world. Point University is a great place. Point University, there's nothing like it.